Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 3.5 really.
3.5. So like 3.5 of like, well, how much of like real good success where you're like, wow, this is amazing? Like financial success.
I'll say within the first like year, we were doing pretty well financially.
So like 3 years like of good financial success.
Yeah.
I guess I cannot relate to what I'm saying at all. It took me like 9 years.
Really?
Like 9 years of like nothing mattered, like relationships, nothing. It was just like blinders. This is all I was focused on. And then I got to a point where I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like I can't even believe how long it's been.
What was that moment?
It was probably, maybe like right before I was about to open this new gym.
Zoo Culture.
Like maybe a year before that new gym. Like I've had Zoo Culture for 9 years.
Right when we had, because I remember you were opening your gym right before we did our pod. Okay. So right then.
Yeah. So I had the gym open for, it's going to be almost 9 years.
Yeah.
But this new one about a year ago. So around that time before that gym was about to open, I remember I was just like, because I would get asked that question a lot. Like people who, who would work with me or who know me were like, are you happy? Because like, I think a lot of times you'd see me like either stressed about something, but like stress is something like I thrive in and I love it. Like I do enjoy it. I like the sweat. But then I got asked that question a lot. And I remember one day I was like, wait, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And it was just a weird moment. Like I'm very happy now.
Yeah.
Could I be happier? Of course.
Did you come to that realization like right when you were about to open it?
Yeah. That was right
around the time we did our pod. So you weren't happy back then.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy, but it was like when
I remember me and you talking about like the permitting and how much of a pain it was for you to get it open.
It wasn't even about that stuff. That was business as usual to me. It was just like in my life, like relationship wise, like where I was at, like where I had been, and the situations I'd been in. More of I guess on a personal level, like with where I was at in, I don't know, my timeline of like where my relationship was going to end up or where I was going to be, or like I kind of stopped and I was like, I thought I would have been a little further along. Like I thought I would have had a kid. I thought I would have been a little bit more.
So what was lacking? What do you have now that you didn't have then?
Probably a lot more patience, a lot more willingness to communicate, like not just my way. Because obviously I could sit here and talk to you guys all day, and like we very similar in a lot of ways, very different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I'm very much like you guys are, where it's like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. This is how I feel. But it would always shut out like my ability to create really positive, like synergistic conversation or fruitful conversation. In this case, in a relationship, so with the opposite sex.
Okay.
So I found myself always just like, it was like, You
got something serious now?
I'm like yes and no.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to cut that. I'm gonna have to cut that.
All right.
Yeah. But at the time, I just remember looking back and being like, yeah, I'm very happy about all these sections of my life, but this one section of my life, like I just avoided, like truly avoided.
Okay.
So I was just curious if you guys have ever, I mean, you, when you're in it, you're in it. You don't know it until you kind of slow down.
Until
you're
you
like,
look back and reflect.
Wait a minute. Like I think in like 4 years, you'll probably be like, oh, I remember that conversation I had with Brad. Not maybe about the girl thing, some aspect of your life. Yeah, I'm just curious. Have you like, you wouldn't be able to know. It's like you don't know until you know.
Until you get out of it.
Yeah, until you slow down a little bit in hindsight. And obviously, I don't think you're gonna slow down and stop making content and like keep the iron going type conversation. I get it.
Yeah.
But I really wonder, like, are there aspects of your life that you think you right now in 5 years would be like, yeah, I wish I spent more time focused on that. Like, are there any things like
that? You know what I feel like that about right now? I feel like that about my federal career. I was like, because it ended abruptly for me. So like, I look back and I'm like, damn, that was really a fun job. Like I miss it all the time. I talk about it all the time. So I feel like that about that, because like that career's done now, so I can like look back and reflect.
It's funny how you're still about work.
About work, right?
I love it. Yeah. That's totally me, dude.
Yeah, because
that's
fun. Machine.
Because I lived and breathed that job, dude. Like that job, right? So like I got on as an agent when I was 23. So like, and I was secluded in Laredo, Texas. So like I didn't party, I didn't drink, I wasn't like going out hanging out with friends like most 20-year-olds were. Like I was chasing after criminals and writing reports at 2 a.m. and going after like the worst people. So like I was super invested in my job. Like that was like one thing that like, I had the most arrests in 2016 in the whole office, which is the busiest office in the country. Like, and then before I left, I had one of the most important national security cases before I left. So like, it really tore me to leave, because when I had to leave, they basically, the reason why is because they're like, hey, blowing up on the internet, like You have a top secret clearance. You're going to be testifying in court. You're a federal agent. What the f- are you doing talking about this on the internet? Because like, you know, obviously that you can't be out there like that when you're on the job. So I had to pick and choose. They're like, bro, because in their head, these are government employees, lifetime government employees. They don't understand social media. They don't understand making money online. To them, they're like, this is some kind of random hobby. Dude, quit this. But they didn't know that like at this point, we're starting to make money. I had employees. We were like, the business was starting to take off. And at that point, I had just gotten the first studio. And Fresh had just quit his job. So if I turn my back and I'm like, sorry guys, I'm going to have to put this on hold for a few months because they told me you got to put this on hold for like 6 or 7 months. Who knows if we can bounce back after that? And then they also were reserved the right to tell me you can't go back because I had something called outside employment paperwork. When you work for the federal government, you have to get like it approved if you're going to have any type of outside employment paper, employment or like activity because it can't be a conflict of interest. You can't be a defense attorney while being a special agent. It's conflict of interest, right? So for example, so I had my approved, but then they rescinded it. And they said, you got to wait like 6, 7 months. So they would have never, there could have been a chance where I wait the time period and they don't give it back to me. Cause like I was in the middle of like some internal investigation because they thought that I was like filming content on my G phone, which is like, dude, I was recording 4K videos. They give you like an iPhone 7, which is preposterous. But they're like, hey, until it clears, you got to stop. And I was like, well, I got it in place. So then they're like, they didn't think I was going to resign. I ended up resigning. I had to resign. So it was, I'll never forget, December 5th, 2020, going to the fucking office, over there in the Miami Field office, turn over my badge, turn all my back, my vest, my credentials, everything.
So your answers still work?
Yep.
Yeah. I guess.
Dude,
There's nothing else.
Crazy.
There's nothing else with that guy, man.
It makes sense though.
Yeah, I guess.
What about you?
Probably family time. If I have to look back in 5 years, I mean, I just came back from home, so I was able. It was Mother's Day yesterday.
Yeah.
I got to see them. I think that's one thing that I think I will regret. I saw my grandparents for the first time in a while, and it's probably going to be those. Everybody thinks that like those. You could have had one more conversation with your grandma, stuff like that. I've been so dialed in and focused on work that it's hard to really maintain the same relationships I had with my family before I moved out.